example, we're going to multiply the numbers. 2.3 times 10 to the power of 6. Sometimes they put the numbers in brackets. We're going to multiply that by 1.4 times 10 to the power of 3. So, what you do is this. You multiply the first parts of each of the number. And that may require a bit of pen and paper. Obviously, they test you on this in the non-calculator paper. So we're just going to make sure, what is 23 times 14? 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. Add 1, 9. Don't forget that all-important 0 there. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2 is 2. Could have just written those figures, couldn't I? And then add them up. And you get 322. So my answer is, I have the figures 322. Remember, when you're multiplying decimals, if your question has two figures after this point, so must the first part. So it's 3.22. And then what about the power of 10 that is multiplied by? Well, 10 to the power of 6 times 10 to the power of 3. We just use the rule of indices that when you multiply, that's not particularly good colour, is it? Obliterates the number entirely. You add those together, so you get times 10 to the power of 9. And then double check. Is my answer in standard form? Is that between 1 and 10? It is. So there you go. Let's go through that again, where we have to do a little bit of extra work. Here you go. Example 2. 4.8 times 10 to the power of 5 times 3.7 times 10 to the power of 11. So we're going to multiply the first two parts together. So using pen and paper, as I say, this is in some ways probably the hardest or the most time-consuming bit. So let's run through this. 7 times 8 is 56. Do you see how important the times tables are? Without a calculator, you can't do maths unless you know your tables. 7 times 4 is 28, add 5, 33. Start with the 0. 3 times 8 is 24. 3 times 4 is 12, add the 2, 14. Add those up. And we get 1776. My question had two figures after decimal point. So my answer is 17.76. Now to find the power of 10, what you do is you look at the powers of 10 in each of the numbers. We've got 10 to the power of 5, 10 to the power of 11. So my answer is 10 to the power of 16. But my answer isn't in standard form because this is too big. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it so it's standard form. Standard form, the number has to be, the first part has to be between 1, which it can be, and 10, which it can't be. So I've got to change it so it's between 1 and 10. What I do is this. I'm going to divide this number by 10. It's worth writing this down. And then, so it is the same number, I'm going to have to times the other part by 10. So they balance each other out. This has become 10 times smaller. The other parts become 10 times bigger. So it becomes 1.776. Now, how do I make 10 to the 16 10 times bigger? Well, I just increase the power by 1. Okay. And the last example I want to do is division. How do we do that without a calculator and using standard form numbers? Here you go. Example 2. 9.8 times 10 to the power of 4 divided by, say generally speaking, they tend to put these in brackets, divided by 1. That's not a very nice one. I'm going to change that to 9.6. You'll see why in a minute. Divided by 1.2 times 10 to the power of 9. So we are going to, instead of multiplying the first parts of the number, we're going to divide them. So we get 9.6 over 1.2. Now, it's always best to write it as a fraction. We don't like decimals in a fraction, so using the rules of equivalent fractions, I'm going to make each of those 10 times bigger, so it becomes 96 over 12, which, right, if your times tables aren't good enough, let's see if that cancels down and divide top and bottom by 2, so it's 48 over 6, and at which point you'll realise, 6 goes into 48 8 times. So there you go, the first part of my answer is 8. Now, what about the power of 10? Well, when you divide, you subtract the powers. So it's going to be times 10 to the power of minus 5. Okay. There are other bits. Maybe we'll look at those again. I think there's yet another area. This is the danger of recording live. Okay, that little symbol there should be a 3, but enough. Okay. The most important thing, this is just icing on the cake. The most important thing is the maths involved. Right.